Well, there's a quote I like that says, "Everybody you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about, so be kind." In my family's case, that battle is mental illness. At some point in our lives, one or more of us have experienced the following mental health challenges: major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, dysthymia, various phobias, panic attacks, social anxiety disorder, anorexia, bulimia, obsessive-compulsive disorder, attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity, post-traumatic stress disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, borderline schizophrenia, delusions, disassociation, and brief psychotic episodes. My mental health journey started at the age of 3. Debilitating night terrors had me convinced that I was going to be attacked by some faceless man in my sleep. The terrors were relentless and accompanied by insomnia, migraines, and until I was 12 years old, nightly bedwetting. As I got older, I got trapped in obsessive thinking and compulsive actions in desperate attempts to feel safe at night. By the time I reached college, I also struggled with depression, anxiety, and a season of suicidal ideation as a result of my pain. Later, panic attacks and PTSD were added to my list. But strangely, if you met me then, you'd never have known I was dealing with any of this. I was what is referred to as high functioning. I never looked or acted in any way like I experienced mental health challenges. I got straight A's in school and gave my life to Christ in college. I got married and raised 2 wonderful children. I held good jobs and I got promotions, and I even started my own nonprofit. The only place my distress seemed to show itself was in my marriages. My first 2 husbands left me. The first after 9 years, the second after 15. And I secretly worried that God too would soon be on his way out the door. After all, what kind of a witness was I for him if I was in such mental and emotional pain all the time? To make things even harder, my family was struggling with mental health issues of their own, which expressed themselves through multiple suicide attempts, struggles with drug and alcohol addiction, several long-term stays in hospital, psychiatric, and treatment facilities, and lots of codependency, though that was mostly on my part. That's because with every new diagnosis, I worked that much harder to show my hurting family that none of their issues changed how much I loved them or how valuable they were to me or the world. They knew they could count on me to be there in the midst of their suffering, fiercely fighting for their wounded minds and hearts, and focusing on their pain helped keep me from going over the edge myself. My family needed me, and I couldn't let them down. Where was God in all this? Well, growing up, I didn't know anything about God. That is, until a crisis pregnancy in college. I had an abortion and fell into total despair. My non-Christian boyfriend started reading me the Psalms, something his mom had done for him when he was upset as a little boy. And hearing the Psalms was like coming home, only to a home I'd never known before. I wanted to give my life to this God and did, and I desperately hoped he would heal my mental unwellness, but he didn't. And I soon found myself returning to familiar patterns and thoughts. I felt so much shame, like a complete spiritual failure. And sadly, many of the Christians I knew only reinforced this feeling. They wanted me to have more faith or be healed by their prayers or have the demons of fear and doubt cast out of me once and for all. After all, everyone knew real Christians weren't plagued by terror, depression, and anxiety like I was. I tried everything to rid myself of my disorders and night terrors, even traveling across the country to a faith healer, but nothing seemed to cure me. I finally ran out of hope for a miracle. And to my great surprise, that turned out to be the best gift of all, because I realized that I had to accept myself just as I was. And in doing so, God gave me the courage to get the help I desperately needed. I started seeing a therapist, taking medication, and building up my mental and emotional strength and resiliency. I even met other Christians I deeply respected who were facing their own mental health issues, and that helped me not feel so alone in mine. My mental health challenges were no longer something I had to get over, but something I was learning to live well with. I finally believed that I was truly God's beloved daughter, that I belonged in his kingdom, no differently than if I had cancer or diabetes. But unfortunately, not everyone in the church shares this vision. While statistics show a majority of those struggling with mental health issues turn to church leaders for help, all too often they are met with silence and shame, just like I was with the Christians I met in college. And that's why I'm standing here today, sharing my story with you. If you suffer from mental and emotional unwellness, I believe with all my heart that you too are God's beloved child who belongs, that you too can learn to accept yourself because you are already deeply loved and accepted. We don't have to perform for God or run away from him. We can embrace ourselves in the midst of our mental health difficulties as believers who belong. I believe this is what I was made for, to help you, the suffering, break free from the stigma and shame of mental illness, to help you believe in your own belonging and belovedness. God is using my journey in some beautiful ways at Overlake. Not only have I been given this amazing opportunity to share with you today, but I'm also part of a team that is working to provide love and support to anyone here who is walking through mental health challenges, so you don't feel so alone. We want to end the stigma and stop the silence that has gone on too long in the church. So today, we recognize and honor the resiliency, courage, and strength those of you who suffer demonstrate each and every day simply by getting up and hoping for a way out of your darkness and isolation, because none of us should suffer in silence. Thank you for letting me share with you today.